The empty blackness of space stretched out before the United Earth Alliance vessel Starlight as it moved through its patrol route. The ship's engines hummed softly, a sound that Commander Alan Wright had grown used to over his 15 years in space. At 52, Alan was one of the most respected commanders in the UEA fleet. His short gray hair and weathered face told stories of countless missions, both routine and dangerous. Alan sat in his command chair on the bridge, watching the stars on the main screen. The year was 2187, and humans had only recently begun to explore beyond their solar system. The Starlight was patrolling the edge of human space, making sure no pirates or other threats came near the new colonies. "Another quiet day," said Lieutenant Samantha Reed as she walked up beside his chair. Sam was Alan's second in command, a sharp-minded woman of 35 with short blonde hair and keen blue eyes. She had served with Alan for 7 years, and they worked together like a well-oiled machine. Alan nodded. "I like quiet. Quiet means everyone's safe." The bridge was not large, but it was efficient. 8 crew members worked at different stations, monitoring the ship's systems and the surrounding space. The soft beeps and clicks of the computers created a peaceful background noise. "Sir," called out Communications Officer Daniel Ross from his station, "I'm picking up something strange." Alan turned his chair toward the young officer. "Strange how?" Daniel frowned at his screen, adjusting his headset. He was the newest member of the bridge crew, only 26 years old, but he had proven himself to be extremely skilled. "It's a signal I've never seen before. Not human in origin, that's for sure." Those words made everyone on the bridge stop and look up. In the 30 years since humans had first traveled beyond their solar system, they had found traces of alien life, microbes on distant moons, fossils of simple creatures, but never an intelligent alien civilization. "Put it through the speakers," Alan ordered, sitting up straighter. A series of clicks, whistles, and hums filled the bridge. The pattern repeated, changing slightly each time. It didn't sound random, there was clear structure to it. "How long has this been broadcasting?" Alan asked. "Can't tell for sure, sir," Daniel replied. "But based on the signal strength, I'd guess several days at least." Alan turned to his science officer. "Dr. Murray, what do you make of this?" Chief Science Officer Lisa Murray was already analyzing the signal on her screen. Her dark eyes narrowed in concentration as her fingers flew over the controls. At 48, Lisa had spent most of her life studying the possibilities of alien life. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and she never wore makeup on duty, practical to the core. "It's definitely artificial," she said after a moment. "The mathematical patterns are too precise to be natural. There are repeating sequences that suggest it's a message of some kind." "Can we decode it?" Alan asked. Lisa shook her head. "Not immediately, but give me some time with my team and we might be able to crack it." "You have 2 days," Alan said. "In the meantime, let's track where this signal is coming from." The ship's navigation officer, Ben Clark, was already on it. "Based on signal, direction and strength, it's coming from the Taurus sector, sir, about 3 light years from our position." Alan thought for a moment. The Taurus sector wasn't claimed by Earth or any human colony. It was unexplored territory. "Plot a course, Mr. Clark. Let's find out who's calling." "Sir," Samantha said quietly, "shouldn't we report this to Earth Command first? This could be first contact with an alien civilization." "We'll send the data back," Alan replied. "But if this is a message, it might be time-sensitive. I don't want to wait weeks for bureaucrats to make up their minds." For the next 2 days, Lisa and her science team worked around the clock to decode the alien signal. They used every algorithm and translation program available, trying to find patterns that might reveal meaning. The rest of the crew was on edge with excitement and nervousness. Many couldn't sleep, wondering what they might find. On the morning of the 3rd day, Lisa called Alan to the science lab. Her face was pale and she looked like she hadn't slept at all. "We cracked it," she said simply. "And sir, you need to see this." The science lab was filled with screens showing different parts of the decoded message. It wasn't just audio. There were images too, and what looked like mathematical formulas. It's a distress call, Lisa explained, her voice tight. From a species that calls themselves the Vrelkar. She pointed to one of the screens which showed an alien star system. The star at the center was swollen and red, clearly dying. Around it, hundreds of large ships were shown fleeing. Their home star is going supernova, Lisa continued. They've evacuated their planets and put their population on these ships. Millions of them, based on the data they sent. Alan stared at the images. So they're refugees, looking for a new home? It's worse than that, Lisa said, bringing up another screen. This one showed the fleet's path through space and a massive field of asteroids directly in their way. Their main engines are failing. Life support systems are critical on many ships. And they're headed straight for this asteroid field, which they don't have the power to navigate around. The implications hit Alan like a punch to the gut. They're asking for help. Lisa nodded. Yes, this message is aimed at anyone who might hear it, but based on what we know of this region, we're probably the only ones who have. Alan studied the data more closely. How much time do they have? According to their trajectory and speed, they'll reach the asteroid field in about 2 weeks. If they can't change course or power through it safely. She didn't need to finish. Alan could see it in the data. Millions of aliens would die. Can we help them? Samantha asked from the doorway. She had come to check on their progress and had heard enough to understand the situation. Alan looked at the images of the alien ships again. They were nothing like human vessels, more organic in design with curves and patterns that suggested a very different cultural aesthetic. The aliens themselves were only briefly shown in the message, tall, slender beings with 4 arms and iridescent skin that seemed to change color. They were utterly, completely alien. And they were dying. Get me Earth Command, Alan said firmly. Priority channel. An hour later, Alan stood before the communications screen in his private quarters. The face of Admiral Helena Foster, head of the UEA, looked back at him with a serious expression. Are you absolutely certain about this, Commander Wright? She asked. The implications of first contact are enormous, and committing our resources to an alien rescue operation. With all due respect, Admiral, Alan interrupted, there's no time for debate. Millions of lives are at stake. I've sent you all the data we've decoded. They need help, and we're the only ones who can give it. Admiral Foster was silent for a long moment. Then she sighed. The UEA Council is split on this. Some want to observe, from a distance. Others are concerned about potential threats. And what do you think, Admiral? Alan asked quietly. Her expression softened slightly. I think that how we respond to this call will define humanity for generations to come. If we turn our backs on a dying people just because they're different from us. She straightened her shoulders. You have authorization to proceed, Commander. I'll send whatever ships we can spare to your coordinates, but you'll be the first to make contact. Alan nodded, feeling the weight of what was to come. Thank you, Admiral. After the call ended, he found Samantha waiting outside his quarters. Well, she asked. We're going, he said simply. Set course for the Vrelkar fleet. Maximum speed. As the Starlight changed direction and its engines powered up to full, Alan looked out at the stars through his viewport. Somewhere out there, an alien civilization was facing extinction, and humanity's first major interaction with them would be a rescue mission of extraordinary scale. He hoped they were ready. The Starlight moved through space faster than it had ever gone before. Commander Alan Wright had ordered the engines to run at full power for 3 days straight. Chief Engineer Jack Wilson had complained about the strain on the systems, but he understood the urgency. We're approaching the coordinates, sir, Navigation Officer Ben Clark announced, dropping out of faster-than-light speed in 3, 2, 1. The view on the main screen changed as the Starlight slowed down. What they saw made everyone on the bridge fall silent. Hundreds of massive ships floated in the darkness of space. They were unlike any human vessel. Their hulls were shaped like giant leaves or flower petals with glowing lines running across their surfaces. Some of the ships were clearly damaged, with dark patches where the glow had gone out. The entire fleet was moving slowly toward a distant field of asteroids that looked like a wall of rock blocking their path. "My God," Samantha whispered. "There must be thousands of them." "Life signs?" Alan asked, his voice steady despite the incredible sight before them. Lisa checked her screens. "Readings are different from human signatures, but yes. Each of those larger ships appears to contain thousands of life forms. The smaller vessels have fewer." Alan took a deep breath. "Open a channel, Mr. Ross. Let's introduce ourselves." Daniel worked at his console for a moment. "Channel open, sir. I'm broadcasting on the same frequency they used for their distress call." Alan stood up straight. "This is Commander Alan Wright of the United Earth Alliance vessel Starlight. We have received your distress call and have come to offer assistance." For several long moments there was no response. Then the screen flickered, and an image appeared. The Ntiu alien that looked back at them had a slender body with 4 arms and an oval-shaped head. Its skin seemed to shift colors, moving from blue to green to purple as they watched. Large, multifaceted eyes studied them with clear intelligence. "I am Fleet Admiral Zexavona of the Vrelkar," the alien said. Its mouth didn't move in time. With the words, the ship's computer was translating. "Why have you come, humans?" Alan straightened his back. "We received your distress call. We've come to help." The alien's skin flashed a deep red. "We sent no call to humans specifically. The message was meant for advanced civilizations that might be capable of assistance." The insult was clear, but Alan didn't react to it. "Nevertheless, we are here, and we have the technology and resources to help you avoid the asteroid field ahead." Admiral Zexavona's 4 arms moved in what might have been a gesture of dismissal. "Our civilization has existed for 50,000 years. We have traveled between stars while your kind was still living in caves. We do not need the help of primitives." Samantha stepped forward, anger clear on her face, but Alan held up a hand to stop her. He studied the alien on the screen more carefully. Behind the Admiral, he could see other Vrelkar moving quickly, working at what looked like control panels. One section of the room appeared to be damaged, with emergency lights flashing. "Your pride does your people credit, Admiral," Alan said calmly. "But I can see that your ship is damaged. Our scans show many of your vessels are low on power. The asteroid field is 2 weeks away at your current speed. Will your fleet survive that long without assistance?" The alien's colors shifted rapidly, then settled into a deep blue. "Our situation is challenging, but the Vrelkar do not accept charity from lesser species." "Then don't think of it as charity," Lisa said, stepping forward beside Alan. "Think of it as an exchange. We help you now, and perhaps you can share some of your knowledge with us later." The Admiral was silent for a long moment. Then it made a gesture with its upper arms. "I will consult with the other ship captains. Do not approach our fleet until I have made a decision." The screen went dark. "Well, that went well," Samantha said with clear sarcasm. Alan turned to his crew. "They're proud, scared, and facing extinction. We need to give them time." "Sir," Lisa said, looking at her readings, "some of those ships won't have time. I'm detecting severe power fluctuations in at least 20 vessels. Life support could fail within days." Alan frowned. "Keep monitoring them, and prepare a detailed plan for how we could help. I want specifics we can show them when they call back." For the next 6 hours, the Starlight maintained its position at a respectful distance from the Vrelkar fleet. The science and engineering teams worked together to analyze the alien ships and develop possible solutions to their problems. When Admiral Zexavona finally called back, Alan was ready. "You claim you can help us," the Admiral said without greeting. "Explain how." Alan nodded to Jack Wilson, who stepped forward with a tablet in his hands. The chief engineer was a practical man in his late 40s, with strong hands that showed years of working with machines. "We've analyzed your ship's energy signatures," Jack explained. "Your propulsion systems are failing because your power crystals are losing their charge, correct?" The Admiral's colors shifted to a surprised yellow. "How could you know this?" "The radiation pattern is distinctive," Jack continued. "We have technology that could help recharge those crystals, or provide alternative power sources to get you through the asteroid field. Impossible, the Admiral said. Our crystal technology is beyond your understanding. Maybe, Jack admitted. But energy is energy. We might use different methods, but the basic principles are universal. Lisa added, we've also studied the asteroid field ahead. There's a narrow path through it that would require minimal course adjustment. With our ships helping guide yours, we could navigate it safely. The Admiral was silent, its colors shifting slowly as it considered these words. Why would you help us? It finally asked. What do humans gain from this? Alan stepped forward again. Admiral, may I show you something from our history? The alien made a gesture that might have been agreement. Alan nodded to Daniel, who sent a series of images to the Vrelkar ship. These are records from our past, Alan explained, as pictures appeared on the shared screen. Natural disasters, wars, times when humans faced extinction. This is the Indian Ocean tsunami of 2004. This is the climate crisis of the 2030s. This is the Mars colony oxygen failure of 2079. Each image showed the same thing, people helping each other, rescuers pulling survivors from rubble, nations sending aid to others, astronauts sharing oxygen tanks. Each time we faced disaster, we survived by working together, Alan said quietly. Not just families or countries, but all humans. We're still learning this lesson. We still fight wars and have conflicts. But we understand that in the face of extinction, differences don't matter. The Admiral's colors had settled into a deep purple as it watched. You are a young species, it said, but the insult was gone from its voice. Yes, Alan agreed, but perhaps that gives us a different perspective. We're offering our help not because we expect payment, but because it's what we would hope others would do for us. For a long moment, the alien was silent. Then it made a complex gesture with all four arms. I will come to your ship with a small delegation, the Admiral said. We will discuss your proposals in detail. After the call ended, Samantha turned to Alan with surprise on her face. That was unexpected. Alan nodded. They're desperate but proud. They needed a way to accept help without feeling like they were begging. 2 hours later, a small Vrelkar shuttle docked with the Starlight. Admiral Zexavona and 3 other aliens came aboard. Seeing them in person was even more striking. They stood nearly 7 feet tall, and their color-changing skin rippled with patterns that seemed to reflect their emotions. The meeting took place in the Starlight's conference room. Alan had brought his senior officers, Samantha, Lisa, Jack, and Medical Officer Nancy Garcia. The humans sat on one side of the table, the aliens on the other. Your ship is primitive, Admiral Zexavona observed, but functional. We get where we need to go, Jack replied with a slight smile. For the next few hours, they discussed the technical challenges. Jack explained how human generators could be adapted to recharge the Vrelkar power crystals. Lisa showed her navigational plan for the asteroid field. Nancy explained how human medical techniques might help the injured Vrelkar. As they talked, the Admiral's colors gradually shifted from defensive reds and purples to more neutral blues and greens. The other aliens began asking questions, showing interest in the human proposals. Finally, Admiral Zexavona raised all 4 hands for silence. Your ideas are not without merit, the Admiral said slowly, but implementing them would require bringing many more humans into our fleet. My people have never worked closely with another species before. Many will resist. Alan nodded in understanding. Change is difficult, but the alternative is worse. The Admiral's colors rippled with what might have been a sigh. Yes, death makes even the most difficult change acceptable. It stood up to its full height. Very well, Commander Wright. The Vrelkar accept your assistance. We will allow your engineers aboard our ships, and we will follow your navigational guidance through the asteroid field. The Admiral extended one of its hands toward Alan. May your species' compassion not be misplaced. Alan stood and took the alien hand carefully. It felt cool and slightly rough, like touching a piece of silk-covered stone. Thank you, Admiral. We'll begin immediately. As the Vrelkar delegation returned to their shuttle, Samantha stood beside Alan in the docking bay. Earth responded to Alan's call with amazing speed. Within 4 days, 7 more human ships arrived at the Vrelkar fleet. The largest was the engineering vessel Endeavour, a massive ship designed to repair space stations and colonies. Its captain, Frank Miller, was a stocky man with 30 years of engineering experience and a no-nonsense attitude. "So these are our new friends," Frank said as he stood beside Alan on the Starlight's observation deck looking at the alien fleet. "Never thought my first aliens would be giant color-changing bugs." "They can understand our language now," Alan reminded him. "Be careful what you say, even on our ships." Frank nodded, his expression serious. "No offense meant. Just taking it all in. This is one for the history books, isn't it?" It certainly was. The human ships looked tiny next to the massive Vrelkar vessels. Earth had sent every available engineer, along with tons of equipment and supplies. Now they just had to figure out how to make it all work with alien technology. The first joint meeting was held aboard the Vrelkar flagship, a huge vessel called the Eternal Light, according to the translation. Alan and Frank led a team of 20 human engineers and scientists into the alien ship. The inside of the Vrelkar vessel was even stranger than the outside. The corridors were tall and wide to accommodate the aliens' height. The walls seemed alive, pulsing with the same glowing lines that covered the outside of the ship. The air was thicker than on human ships, with a sweet smell like flowers. Admiral Sexavona met them in what appeared to be a control room. Dozens of Vrelkar worked at stations with controls that looked like growing crystals rather than machines. "Welcome to our command center," the Admiral said. Its skin was a formal blue color today. "This is Chief Engineer Kilvex, who will coordinate with your technical teams." Kilvex was slightly shorter than the Admiral, with skin that stayed mostly green. It looked at the humans with what seemed like suspicion. "Your help is accepted," Kilvex said stiffly, "but you must understand that our technology is beyond your comprehension. It will be difficult to explain." Frank stepped forward. "Then don't explain it all at once. Show us the basics and we'll figure out the rest as we go." Kilvex's skin flashed with spots of purple. "Very well. Follow me." The alien led them deeper into the ship, to a vast chamber that hummed with energy. At its center was a cluster of crystals the size of a small house, glowing with a pale blue light. "This is our main power core," Kilvex explained. "The crystals absorb energy from sunlight and store it for use. But since we fled our dying star, we have had no way to recharge them. They are nearly depleted." Frank walked around the crystal formation, studying it carefully. "So they're like giant batteries. Do they respond to other energy sources besides sunlight?" "Theoretically, yes," Kilvex admitted. "But we have no other sources powerful enough." "We might," Frank said thoughtfully. "Our fusion generators produce enormous energy. If we could find a way to transfer that energy to your crystals." Kilvex's skin turned a doubtful yellow. "Your primitive fusion technology is not compatible with our crystal matrices." Frank smiled slightly. "Let's find out, shall we?" Over the next 3 days, mixed teams of human and Vrelkar engineers worked together on the energy transfer problem. It wasn't easy. The cultural differences were as challenging as the technical ones. The Vrelkar were perfectionists who planned every detail before acting. Humans preferred to try things, see what happened, and adjust their approach. The aliens found this messy and unsophisticated. The humans found the Vrelkar too rigid and slow. Tensions ran high. Arguments broke out. Twice, Alan had to step in to smooth things over when human engineers lost patience with their alien counterparts. "This isn't working," Samantha told Alan privately after a particularly difficult day. "They think we're stupid monkeys playing with their advanced technology." "They're scared," Alan replied. "Their entire civilization is at risk. Fear makes people defensive." "They're not people," Samantha pointed out. "They're aliens." Alan looked at her steadily. "They're people, Sam, just not human people. They have families, hopes, and dreams just like us. And right now they're terrified those dreams will end in that asteroid field." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Junior engineer Peter Martinez was only 24, fresh out of the academy. He had been assigned to work with a young Vrelkar engineer named Tilra on one of the smaller power nodes. While the senior engineers argued about complex energy conversion methods, Peter took a different approach. He noticed patterns in the crystal formations that reminded him of old Earth circuit designs. "I think I see how it works," he told Tilra, pointing to a cluster of smaller crystals. "These aren't just random growths. They're arranged in specific patterns like a circuit board." Tilra's skin shifted to an interested shade of blue. "Yes, the patterns direct the energy flow." Peter nodded excitedly. "So we don't need to change your entire system. We just need to create an interface that matches these patterns." He quickly sketched a design on his tablet, a simple adapter that could connect human power cables to the Vrelkar crystal nodes. "Will this work?" he asked, showing the design to Tilra. The young alien studied it, its colors shifting rapidly as it thought. "Perhaps," it finally said. "The concept is surprisingly elegant for a human design." Peter grinned at what passed for a compliment among the Vrelkar. "Let's build a prototype and test it." They worked through the night, building the adapter from parts Peter requested from the Endeavor. By morning, they were ready to test it. Kulvex and Frank came to observe, both skeptical but curious. The adapter was connected to a small, portable fusion generator from the Endeavor, and then carefully attached to a minor crystal node. "Power on," Peter said, activating the generator. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the crystals began to glow brighter, their color shifting from pale blue to vibrant azure. "Energy transfer is stable," Tilra reported, its skin flashing with excitement. "The crystals are accepting the power." Kulvex moved closer, its colors showing clear surprise. "This is unexpected. The alignment is crude but effective. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best," Frank said with a proud smile at Peter. "Good work, Martinez." Word of the success spread quickly. Admiral Zexvona came to see the working prototype, its skin shifting through curious colors as it examined the human Vrelkar hybrid technology. "Can this be scaled up?" the Admiral asked. "Our main power cores are thousands of times larger than this test node. The principle should work at any scale," Peter explained. "We'll need to build bigger adapters and use multiple generators in parallel, but yes, we can recharge your main power cores." The Admiral's colors settled into a thoughtful blue. "How long?" Frank stepped forward. "If we work together using all our ship's resources and your knowledge of the crystal systems, we could have your main power cores recharged within 10 days. The asteroid field is 8 days away," the Admiral said, its colors darkening. Alan, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. "Then we'll have to work faster, and we should prioritize your engines and defense systems to give you enough power to navigate through the field." Over the next week, the combined human Vrelkar engineering teams worked around the clock. Peter's adapter design was improved and scaled up. Human fusion generators were connected to alien crystal matrices. Slowly, the dying ships began to regain power. The cultural barriers began to break down as they worked together. Humans learned to appreciate the careful precision of Vrelkar engineering. The aliens began to respect human creativity and resourcefulness. Kulvex and Frank developed an odd friendship, each grudgingly admitting the other knew what they were doing. Tilra and Peter worked so well together that other teams started coming to them for advice. Not everything went smoothly. There were accidents. On the third day, a power surge damaged one of the adapters, causing a crystal explosion that injured 3 humans and 2 Vrelkar. On the 5th day, a miscalculation led to an overload that knocked out power to an entire section of the flagship. But they kept going. When human engineers grew tired, others took their place. When Vrelkar technicians needed rest, their colleagues stepped in. On the 7th day, with the asteroid field looming large in their view screens, Admiral Zexvona called Alan and Frank to the command center of the flagship. "We have restored power to 60% of our fleet," the Admiral reported. Its colors were a mix of blue and green, concern mixed with hope. "But that leaves 40% of our ships still vulnerable." How many people are on those ships? Alan asked. Approximately 2 million, the Admiral replied. Alan and Frank exchanged a look. That's too many to transfer to the powered ships, Frank said. Then we need another solution, Alan replied. He turned back to the Admiral. How many of your ships have working engines but not enough power to use them? About half of the remaining vessels, the Admiral said. Alan nodded. Then we use our ships to tow them. The human vessels can form a protective screen around your most vulnerable ships and guide them through the asteroid field. The Admiral's colors swirled with surprise. You would risk your ships to protect ours? That's why we came, Alan said, simply. The Admiral was silent for a long moment, its colors shifting through shades Alan couldn't interpret. Finally, it extended all 4 arms in a formal gesture. With the asteroid field only 1 day away, the combined human Vrelkar fleet made final preparations. The 60% of alien ships with restored power formed the center of the formation. Around them, the human vessels took position to protect and guide the remaining Vrelkar ships that still had power issues. Captain Susan Baker of the tug vessel, Hercules, had developed a special system to safely connect to the crystal-hulled Vrelkar ships. Her ship was designed to move space stations and other large objects, but this was the first time it would tow living vessels. The modified tractor beams are ready, she reported to Alan over the comm system. We've adjusted the energy frequencies to match their hull crystals. It's not pretty, but it should hold. Alan nodded, looking at the tactical display on the Starlight's bridge. The 8 human ships were tiny compared to the hundreds of Vrelkar vessels, but they had positioned themselves at key points in the formation. All ships report ready, Commander, Samantha said from her station. Good. Tell them to maintain formation and prepare for entry into the asteroid field in 6 hours, Alan ordered. The plan was simple on paper. The powered Vrelkar ships would follow the path that Lisa had mapped through the asteroid field. The human ships would guide and protect the weakened Vrelkar vessels, using their more maneuverable engines to help them navigate. But everyone knew that space rarely allowed for simple plans to work perfectly. Alan was resting in his quarters when the alert sounded. He rushed back to the bridge to find Samantha already there, her face grim. What's happening? He demanded. The asteroids are moving, she said, pointing to the main screen. They're changing position. Alan stared at the display in disbelief. The massive rocks that formed the asteroid field were indeed shifting, closing the path that Lisa had mapped out. That's not possible, he said. Asteroids don't move like that on their own. No, they don't, Lisa agreed, working frantically at her science station. I'm detecting energy signatures within some of the larger asteroids. They're not natural. Alan's mind raced. You mean they're artificial? Some kind of space stations? Or ships, Lisa said quietly. Disguised as asteroids. Before Alan could respond, a call came in from the Vrelkar flagship. Admiral Zexavona's image appeared on screen, its colors a dark, angry red. The Mokhtar have found us, the Admiral said without greeting. The who? Alan asked. The Admiral's colors pulsed with what might have been shame mixed with fear. The Mokhtar, our ancient enemy. They are the reason we fled our home system. You told us your star was dying, Samantha said accusingly. It was, but not naturally. The Admiral's colors darkened further. The Mokhtar used weapons to destabilize our sun. They have hunted our kind for thousands of years. They want to ensure no Vrelkar survives. Alan felt cold anger rising within him. You didn't think this was important information to share with us? Would you have helped us if you knew it meant facing an advanced enemy? The Admiral asked simply. Before Alan could answer, Lisa called out from her station. Multiple objects detaching from the asteroids. They're moving toward us. The tactical display showed at least 20 large objects separating from what they had thought were simple rocks. They were ships, heavily armed and moving with purpose. Battle stations, Alan ordered. Inform all human vessels to prepare for defensive action. The human ships weren't warships. They carried weapons for self-defense, but they weren't designed for battle against an advanced alien enemy. But they were the only protection the weakened Vrelkar ships had. Admiral, Alan said quickly. How powerful are these Mokhtar ships? Very. Their weapons can cut through our hulls with ease. That is why we needed full power for our defensive shields. Alan made a quick decision. Then we need to get your powered ships through the field now, while we still can. They'll have to create a path for the others to follow. And what of your ships? The Admiral asked. We'll hold off the Mokhtar as long as we can. The Admiral's colors showed clear surprise. You would sacrifice yourselves for us? We came to save your people, Alan said firmly. That's what we're going to do. New orders were quickly relayed through the fleet. The powered Vrelkar ships moved forward, using their energy weapons to clear smaller asteroids from their path. Behind them came the weakened ships guided by the human vessels. The Mokhtar attacked without warning or communication. Energy beams lanced out from their ships, striking several Vrelkar vessels. Where the beams hit, the crystal hulls cracked and shattered. The human ships responded, forming a protective screen around the most vulnerable Vrelkar vessels. The Starlight's weapons were small compared to the alien technology, but Alan ordered them to fire anyway. Target their weapon systems, he shouted as the bridge shook from a near miss. Across the fleet, the other human captains did the same. The Endeavour, with its strong hull designed for dangerous repair work, deliberately positioned itself between a Mokhtar ship and a damaged Vrelkar vessel filled with civilians. We're taking heavy damage, Frank reported over the comm, but we'll hold position as long as we can. On the Hercules, Captain Susan Baker was trying to tow 3 Vrelkar ships at once, her engines straining as she weaved between asteroids while avoiding enemy fire. Just a little farther, she urged her ship. Just a little more. The most dramatic moment came when Captain Greg Evans of the military escort Defender saw a massive energy beam heading toward the largest Vrelkar refugee ship. Without hesitation, he moved his vessel directly into the beam's path. Defender to Starlight, he transmitted calmly. Tell Earth we did our duty. The beam struck the Defender squarely. For a moment, the small human ship glowed bright white as its shields overloaded. Then it exploded in a flash of light, but it had absorbed the full force of the beam. The refugee ship behind it continued safely on its path. Admiral Zexavona witnessed this sacrifice from the flagship's command center. Why? The Admiral asked softly, its colors a deep blue of sorrow. Why would they do this for us? Alan, who was still in communication with the flagship, heard the question. Despite the chaos on his own bridge, he took a moment to answer. Because that's what humans do, he said simply. We answer the call. The battle continued for hours as the fleet pushed through the asteroid field. 3 human ships were lost, along with dozens of Vrelkar vessels, but the majority of the fleet kept moving forward, the stronger protecting the weaker. The Mokhtar pressed their attack relentlessly, but they hadn't expected the human ship's tactics. Where the Vrelkar fought with precise, predictable patterns, the humans were unpredictable, using the asteroids for cover and executing maneuvers that seemed reckless. They're falling back, Samantha reported as they neared the edge of the asteroid field. The Mokhtar ships are retreating. Alan, exhausted, but determined, nodded. They don't want to follow us into open space where they lose the advantage of the asteroids. The remaining human ships continued guiding the Vrelkar vessels. The Starlight's hull was damaged in multiple places, and one of its engines was failing, but it maintained position, protecting 3 damaged Vrelkar ships as they cleared the last of the asteroids. As they emerged from the field into open space, Alan finally allowed himself to breathe easier. He looked at the tactical display, counting the surviving ships. 5 human vessels remained out of the original 8. The Vrelkar had lost nearly 100 ships, but over 300 had made it through. Millions of lives had been saved, though at a terrible cost. Admiral Zexavona's image appeared on the main screen again. The alien's colors were now a shade Alan had never seen before, a deep violet tinged with gold. Commander Wright, the Admiral said formally, the Vrelkar owe humanity a debt that can never be repaid. Your people sacrificed themselves for strangers. This is unknown in our history. Alan looked around at his weary crew, thinking of the ships and brave people they had lost. "We'll mourn our dead together, Admiral, and then we'll find your people a new home." The Vrelkar Admiral made a gesture with all four arms that the humans now recognized as their highest sign of respect. "You have not only saved our bodies, Commander, you have given our civilization a new soul." 2 weeks after the battle at the asteroid field, the combined fleet reached a safe zone of space. The damaged ships had been repaired as much as possible. Both humans and Vrelkar had mourned their dead together, holding a joint memorial service, where each honored the other's customs. Admiral Zexavona invited Alan and the remaining human captains to the flagship for a formal ceremony. The great hall of the Vrelkar vessel was filled with thousands of aliens, their skin colors shifting in waves of blue and gold as the humans entered. Alan walked slowly down the center aisle, aware of the historic nature of this moment. Behind him came Susan Baker, Frank Miller, and the other surviving human captains. They all wore their dress uniforms, cleaned and pressed, despite the damage their ships had suffered. Admiral Zexavona waited at the end of the hall, standing on a raised platform with the other Vrelkar leaders. The Admiral's skin was a deep, rich purple, a color that the humans now knew represented their highest formal state. "Commander Alan Wright," the Admiral's voice echoed through the hall. "Captains of Earth, you stand before the saved remnant of the Vrelkar people." The hall fell completely silent. "For 50,000 years, the Admiral continued, my species believed we stood alone in our sophistication and culture. We viewed other species as primitive curiosities at best, threats at worst." The Admiral's colors shifted, showing emotion that was clear even to human eyes. "We were wrong. You humans, despite your brief existence among the stars, have shown wisdom and courage that humbles us. You answered our call when you had no obligation to do so. You sacrificed your lives for people you had never met." The Admiral approached Alan and did something unexpected. It lowered its tall body and touched its forehead to Alan's in the Vrelkar gesture of deepest respect. "The Vrelkar offer you alliance, friendship, and knowledge," the Admiral said. "Our libraries contain the history of 1,000 worlds. Our technology, once we rebuild, can help your species advance by centuries. This we pledge in return for your compassion." Alan was moved by the gesture. He looked around at the thousands of aliens watching them, knowing that millions more were viewing this ceremony from their ships. These people had nearly been wiped out, and humans had helped save them. "Admiral," Alan replied, his voice steady, "we didn't help you to gain technology or knowledge. We helped because it was right, but we gladly accept friendship between our peoples." From the back of the hall, a new group entered. It was Ambassador Karen Taylor from Earth, who had just arrived with 3 more human ships. She walked forward to stand beside Alan. "The United Earth Alliance formally extends the hand of friendship to the Vrelkar people," she announced. "Earth has already begun preparing a star system where your refugees can settle if you wish. Or we can help you find your own new home." Admiral Zexavona's colors shifted to a warm gold. "We accept your offer with gratitude." In the months that followed, a new chapter began for both species. Mixed research teams led by Lisa Murray and Kulvex started developing technologies to prevent other stars from suffering the same fate as the Vrelkar homeworld. More importantly, word spread through the galaxy about the humans, the young species that risked everything to save strangers. Other alien civilizations, previously hesitant to contact humanity, now reached out. 5 years later, when Mokhtar ships were detected near Earth's outer colonies, they found not an isolated young species, but a powerful alliance of civilizations. The Vrelkar fleet, rebuilt and stronger than ever, arrived to stand beside their human friends. And it all began because humans answered a call from the stars, proving that compassion might be the most powerful force in the universe. The end.